The challenges facing our teens today mean that more than ever, we need to be there to support them and encourage them. The Dr. STEM Show is here to provide discussions about topics that will help promote healthy relationships, self-image, and success for teens, parents, and the community. Our young people can achieve more in life than they ever dreamed possible. The Dr. STEM Show, hosted by Dr. STEM Malatini, will foster these discussions and encourage your participation.
Raising children is a challenge for every mother out there. But I can tell you it's mostly a challenge for those women that are foreigners in this United States. So today we are going to touch a little bit on some of the challenges that you face as a single mother or as a mother that is trying to raise children in this country. My guest today will share with you some of the challenges that you might face, but most of all, how you can be empowered and encouraged to be the best that you can be in this United States. Welcome to the show, Lilian.
Thank you very much for having me, Dr. Stan.
I am so excited to have you, and I couldn't pronounce your last name, so forgive me.
Emefiele.
Emefiele.
Yeah.
Lilian, I am so excited to have you today because you have done what other women want to do, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But before we start, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, thank you. My name is Lilian Emefiele. I am from Nigeria. I was born and raised in Nigeria, and I relocated to the United States about 14 years ago. Born to an average family, from a polygamous home, actually. My mother has 4 of us, but my father were like about 10 or 11. He was a busy man. So, you know, in Africa, polygamy is allowed. So we grew up pretty nicely, liking and loving one another. And it was a good time growing up because my parents believed that you can be the best that you can be or created for as long as you work hard for it. So we had some ups and downs, but it was good. And I'm so glad that I'm here today.
Okay. Polygamy, which is another discussion for another day. But I beg to differ. It's not acceptable in every African country. Is it?
Well, maybe in your country, but Nigeria is allowed. A man is allowed to marry if he can take care of them up to 3, 4 wives. But it's wrong. You're supposed to marry 1 wife. But, you know, those days they said your amount of wealth was measured with the amount of wives that you are able to acquire because they feel that you're able to take care of them. So they just feel that you're very comfortable. So when you have 2, 3 wives, they're like, oh, he's a comfortable man.
Wow.
So,
you know what? I'm going to challenge all the audience that watch the Dr. STEM show. If you have any input, whether you think it's an acceptable thing in your African country, because as we know, Africa is huge. We have many countries in Africa. So tell me about your countries, and let's have a discussion on polygamy, whether it's acceptable or not acceptable, because I want to, you know, hear from other people.
Exactly.
So you start off in Africa, and you said you're the youngest in your family.
For my mom.
For your mom.
Yeah, but my dad, I was in the middle, sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, about 5th or 6th child for my dad.
From your dad, okay.
But for my mom, I was the last.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you started, you know, into movies. Tell us a little bit about that. How did it start from high school? Here you are at secondary school. How do you start wanting to be an actress?
Well, as a child, I've always loved the arts.
Okay.
As a child, growing up, I always listened to music, try to write down songs, try to write down short stories. So within me, I just discovered that this is where I belong. Though my parents are like, oh, you have to do this. I'm like, no, I think I belong to the arts. Yes. So from the age of 10, I already started participating in activities in church, like the drama, the music. So I started from the church. And when I got into high school, I started going to auditions in the Nollywood thing, you know. Then it wasn't like big Nollywood. So when I got into college, I went for several auditions. But unfortunately, you know, I didn't get this kind of big roles until I met my mentor, Mmemi Song, who is one of the big producers in Africa right now. And I worked with her on a production. And after that production, I just realized that as a lady, I don't have to wait to be just an actress. I could do something behind the camera. And that actually spurred me into becoming a producer. So I wrote my script and I did my first film. This was in '99. I did my first film called Live Wire. So that's how I really got myself
So for
in there.
those of you that are watching, she's one of the producers that produced those very nice and widely watched Nigerian movies. I know I have stacks and stacks of them in my house. I'm always buying more and more. So she's one of the producers that produced those movies. Just in case you're watching and you're wondering what we're talking about, Lilian is from Nigeria, and she's one of the producers of the movies, the Nigerian movies that we're seeing. Nollywood, it is?
Yeah, Nollywood, yes.
Nollywood.
Yes.
So how many have you produced so far?
Yeah, so after Livewire, I produced Target, and after Target, I co-produced Silent Tears with MME Song. Then after that, I moved to the United States, because when I was doing Target, and when I finished Target and Silent Tears, my mother passed. So in between that period, I found my way to the US and decided to stay in the US. And you know how it is when you go to the United States. Whatever you're doing in Africa, you get a little sidetracked or distracted from it a little bit. So that's been that's what happened to me until 2010. I just told myself, you know what, I need to come back to the business. So 2011, I came back to the business again, and I shot Night Shift here in the US.
Okay.
You know, I shot Night Shift, and since then, I've been working on a couple of productions with, people in Nigeria and back here. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Busy, busy, busy lady. I know I was talking about the challenges that women in general, and especially those that have children, are facing in this country. And one of those is just working one job.
Yeah.
And not having any other options. Any input on that, on how women can start to empower themselves and get into something else?
Yes, I think what I have discovered these days about women and children is that we have to set our priorities right. Like growing up, I know that our mothers gave a lot of time to us. They were at home. Even here in the United States, I've met a couple of women who told me that when they had 1 or 2 kids, what they did was to stay home. But while they are staying at home, they're not just sitting down at home. They got themselves into something. They discovered themselves. There's some hidden talent, I believe, that is in every one of us. So even if you're doing one job, to me, what I normally tell my fellow women is, try to cut down your hours, because not just the children now. What about your husband? You want to have some time for the man. So you want to have time for the children too, because if you don't have time for the children, the world is going to have time for them.
Yeah.
So while you're doing that, if you cut down your hours, if possible, then discover yourself. There is something inside of you. It could be knitting, it could be sewing, it could be blogging, it could be writing, just something. There's something in every woman and in every man that you can actually add so that you can have time for the family.
You're right. You're right. You're talking about making time for the family and making time for the husband.
Yeah, the
home.
children and the husband, not just the children, because sometimes we forget that the first child that you actually have is your husband. Just the same way your husband have you as the first child, your wife.
Yeah.
So if you have children, don't give that as an excuse to kind of put your husband away.
Yeah.
The man is the first, then the children. You must have time for the children, because, like the age that we're in now, everything is on the fast pace.
Yeah.
So you want to have time for the children to see what they're doing, what they're looking at, what they're reading, what they're watching is very important.
Yeah. And I might, even add on that, to get involved in the school where your children are. Because a lot of parents apparently don't get themselves where to go to the school, meet with the teachers.
Exactly.
And just show their presence to say, you know what, I'm here to support my child or my children. And that's very big in this country, to be able to get involved in doing so. So I know you don't have children of your own, but you do have a child, you said.
Yes. Like I told you, I don't always like to say I don't have children of my own. I know I'm working on it, but I have a son, I have a stepson. I call him my son because he calls me mommy.
Yes.
And I know that he didn't come into this world by accident.
Yeah.
I believe that as a woman, when you meet your husband and he has a child, you want to make that child yours. Because I wasn't there when it happened, and he didn't marry the woman after 5-10 years. He saw you and married you. So I don't want to be in between the child and the father. I want to bring that child in as my child. You understand? Because when you are able to do that, when you have the children of your own or a child of your own, they'll be able to love their big brother or big sister. So to me, that's how I believe it. And I love my stepson. I love him so much,
So how old was he when you got married again?
He was like, I think he was like 11, 12 when I met the dad. Yeah.
So that's you know, because working with teenagers, what I've seen is they struggle a lot when another woman or another man comes in, you know, into the relationship with their parent. And especially around that age, 11, 12, it's very difficult for them to connect with that other person. And, you know, I'm wondering how, when you first started meeting him, was it after a year, 6 months, 3 months, you know, for him to be able to meet with you and then connect with you, how long that was?
Yeah, I actually met with him after, I think like a year or two that I was with the father. And immediately we connected. Because before I met him, like he was with my husband's mother.
Yeah.
And I was talking,
You know,
it looks like I want to go and break.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm going like this year. You know what? Let's take a break, because then you said something very important, meeting after a year. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
You know, one of the things that I probably would be amiss if I don't ask and have us discuss is about those girls that are missing in Nigeria. Can you tell us a little bit about what you know about them, and to inform those people that might, you know, go, what girls are missing? Because that was a big in the news, and it's sad that no one is talking about it anymore.
Very, very sad. And, you know, I want to believe that the new government will be able to do something and kind of resurrect the matter and bring it all up again, so that people can actually go out to look for these girls, you know. But it's so sad that those girls have not been found, even if there have been rumors that some of them are coming out from the bushes here and there. They saw one, they saw two, but that's not enough. We want these girls back.
Yes.
I know they've been, God forbid, but I'm very sure they've been violated where they are, abused and doing all sorts of things to them. They don't deserve that. So we all are praying with our fingers crossed that these girls, we believe that one day they're going to come back. They're still working on it. I don't think they've given up hope on them.
Yeah.
They're
So
working
can you
on
get
it.
into the details of what, because then there are some people that are watching this for the first time and they're going, what girls, what happened in Nigeria? Just a little bit of that.
Yeah, this was last year, I think precisely April.
Yeah.
Last year, about 200 girls were taken from the town of Chibok in Nigeria, and they've been looking for them to date. Those girls have not been seen. They were kidnapped from their schools. So we all are praying, everybody's praying around the world that these girls will come back. They will be let loose from their kidnappers and they'll bring them back home, because it's so sad to have a child. Some of them have like 2 daughters there. Some have just 1. It's so sad for you to have carried your child up to that age. They are all like teenagers, and you can't find them anymore. They disappeared without hearing anything from them. So we're believing that they will be back.
Yeah.
The Chibok girls.
Our prayers continue to go out to them. I know we both have the same passion of empowering girls, especially, I mean, and women as well, as we were talking today. But, you know, giving strength and confidence to girls has been one of the things that I'm passionate about, and I know you're passionate about it as well. Have you seen any differences in the girls that are back in Nigeria and the ones that are here in the United States?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, a lot. When I go here, I find out that there's so many things here that is so different from what is back home. And number one, as a young girl back home, sometimes you don't have a voice of your own. And also, some of the choices you make them are not because you want to make them. You understand? But here in the United States, you make your choice. Back home, you can just be forced to get married. It depends on the community that you come from. You understand? A young girl can just be betrothed to a man and say, by the time you're 14 20, you're going to get married to this man. And sometimes as a young girl back home, because you don't have the finances to go to school, you sell yourself. And I keep telling people, these girls don't want to sell themselves, but they're pushed to it because they want to create a future. They want to do something for themselves. But back here in the United States, you don't need a man to do that. So now you have a choice to have sex, if you allow me to use that word. You know, in the United States, you have a choice. So you can go to school, pay for your school. If your parents can't pay, the government can help you to subsidize, or you can work and go to school at your pace. And also, as a young girl back home, when you get pregnant as a young girl, you can come to your parents. You're forced into doing an abortion secretly. But here, you can have the baby and still have a life. You still have hope. you can still build your future. I have seen some ladies that had children when they were barely 20, and today they're doctors. Some are nurses, some are lawyers, you know. But back home, it's not like that. Yeah. When you're growing up, everything was like very secretive. So I want to believe that things will begin to change and women will begin to recognize that, you know what, I don't need that man unless he's my man, you know, to give me money for me to do anything. Even if you want to do that, let it be that it's something you want to do, not because of the situation that is making you to do it. Right. So those are some of the differences that I really see, and it breaks my heart. Yeah. And that's why I like to encourage young girls that I meet, especially when I go back home, to let them know that they can do it. Just believe in yourself and believe that you can do it.
You're right. And take advantage of this, you know, the things that are here in this country, like the education, as you say, that's an advantage that most of the girls don't have.
They don't have it.
What I've noticed as well is in the schools, there's an opportunity to get into school, and then they get into the school and they start complaining about the inequalities that are in the school. And yet for us, it was just good to have an opportunity to be in the school, because then you just learn and you don't look at anything else that is going on around the politics that is going around in the schools or anything. You just go to school to learn. And that's one thing that's missing, you know, among our girls. What about dating? The dating scene, I know back home we talked about, you know, being forced to get married at 14. And then, you know, when you come here, have you noticed any differences on the dating?
Yeah, in the dating scene, so many. I don't want to go into that. Oh my God.
Dating?
Don't let me go into that. What, you know, so many things that we can begin to say, you know. You notice that in Africa, or Nigeria, where I come from, to be precise, because I know a little about it, is that when you're dating, our parents especially, they don't make you to marry your high school sweetheart because maybe you are not rich enough, or your parents don't have money like your high school sweetheart, or you are not into college yet. Your high school sweetheart is in college. So those things, before you know it, you leave that guy. You see another guy who is coming to you because he has so much money to marry you. But here is different. You see people, they are in college, they believe in themselves, they're high school sweethearts, they're able to get married, you know, they love themselves, not because of money. And if you're here, even if you're a doctor, you can go out with somebody who is just there, but believes in himself or herself, and both of you will make it. Yeah. But in Nigeria, let's believe that things have started changing, but when I was there, it's different. It's very different. Yeah. So when you're dating, I've seen a guy that was dating a girl, and the mother was literally telling the boy, you can't date that girl. Can't you see where she comes from? They don't have money. And I mean, it's not as if they're very rich themselves. Yeah. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's this kind of discrimination, which is really wrong. Because I keep telling people, don't allow your today to deter your tomorrow. You know, when you look beyond today, I've seen a lot of great people in this country that actually inspires me. Yeah. I mean, one of them, Tyler Perry, for instance, he inspires me a lot, because if you believe in yourself, no matter what you're going through today, you can be whoever you want to be tomorrow, as long as you aspire to be that person. Yeah.
So from all that, what I'm getting as a person who's trying to also empower the mothers that are here trying to raise their children to become somebody, is that it's different in this country, and you have to learn and embrace some of the differences that are here in this country whilst you're raising your children, because we have mothers that are trying to raise children here in the United States with the mentality of back home in, you know, any African country or European country that they're coming from. And that's going to be a challenge, because then you have to change to the values of the United States and make sure that you raise your child right. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah. And you know, because you are into children a lot too. One thing I have noticed is that some of our women here, or maybe even their spouses, they're not giving, the African community now, they're not giving that attention to their children. They're still doing, like you said, as if they're back home. Their children have a lot of gifts and talents inside of them. You have to unleash it. You have to see it. Because if you look at the Western community, they put in a lot of time into their children. They discover what the children can do at a tender age, and they begin to nurture it. So if you see your child has a particular talent, you want to nurture that talent for the child, because that might just be the breakthrough.
Yeah. So it's more hands-on in this country. You can't just expect them to go to school and then do well and that's it. No. But you know what? We're going to take another quick break and we'll be right back.
Thank you so much. Okay.
We are talking today about empowering and encouraging women out there that are raising children either by yourself or with a partner, because the challenges that you face today are so many, and there are certain values that have to change for those of you that are from foreign land. But we're now going to talk to Lilian, who has some new projects that she's working on this time. Tell us about those new projects.
So
I know you're excited.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on another show. It's called The African Housewives in Diaspora. This is a show that is centered around 7 women, different personalities.
Yep.
Some are single, actually, some are married. And we're going to be doing a lot of stuff. It's just not a table talk thing. It's a pure reality show, but with a little twist, like I keep saying. And we're shooting like in a month or 2. So I'm really looking forward to the project. I'm very excited about it. And I know that it will be something that will not just tell stories to people in our African community or the world, you know, but it will also teach, encourage and empower people, because sometimes most of the things we'll watch, it's just like sometimes you see fighting and cussing and, you know, discouragement. People after watching, they like not encouraged. So we want to give a little hope to people that while they watch it, because we're touching different areas, you know, in our series. So I think it's something that people should watch out for, because it's going to be a lot of fun.
And the exciting thing about hearing, you know, when you told me about the project is we have women from different countries and different backgrounds that will be on this show. And you can also watch yours truly, because I'm also a part of that show. I'm going to be coming in as a guest, you know, every now and then, and we can talk about some questions that the audience might have. So, you know, I'm excited about the project as well. But the thing about it is they're going to be, you know, going on retreats and doing things that we expect, you know, people to also get into.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we're going to be doing. We're going to go on different retreats and, you know, and talk about different topics. You know, in the African community, there's some topics that are considered taboo. You know, taboo means like you can talk about it. As, you know, you have to keep it. So we're going to get out of the box. You know, and I'm so excited that you are coming on board.
Oh, but I'm not getting out of the box.
I know, but you know, you're going to be doing some things with us, and I'm very excited and honored. You know, about that. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an exciting show.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's going to be an
So now
show.
this time you're not just producing, you're also directing.
Yes, I'm going to be co-directing. Yes, I'm going to be co-directing, because I actually debuted into directing last year as an assistant director. You know, I worked with a couple of big directors. You know, and which is very exciting to me. I'm very happy about that.
I was actually going through YouTube, which I always do before my guests come in, and just see what else they are doing, and voila, I saw you cooking. Is there a cooking show as well?
Yeah, I just hosted that show for somebody. You know, I hosted the show for somebody, 2 episodes on cooking, and I had to look at the recipes very well. So, but I'm learning, I'm getting there. So,
so I'm sure if you're one that always wondered, you know, how do they cook all these African meals? You know, which there's no African meal because each country is different. So you'll get to see us cooking Nigerian food, you know, Jamaican food, Zimbabwean food. So that's something that's also going to be in her episodes for this upcoming show.
Good.
It's African Housewives?
Yeah, African Housewives in Diaspora.
In Diaspora.
Yes.
Okay, African Housewives in Diaspora.
In Diaspora.
I also know that you're starting projects where you're going to be doing girls empowerment. What ideas do you have on that one?
Yeah, what that simply means is not just girls, but ladies. It's a foundation that I'm working on. I want to start creating awareness on heart disease in Africa, because a lot of people, when I went home 2 years ago, I happened to stay a period of time because I had some productions I was doing. And within that short period of time, I noticed that a lot of people died. And these were women between the ages of 35 and 45, just at their peak. So when you go to look at it, what is the cause of all these things? It's heart disease, without them knowing. Some people get obese, some high cholesterol, high blood pressure, without them realizing that this is what is going on with them. So I want to start that off by going there to create awareness and let people know that it is preventative. You can prevent it. You know, if you prevent it, then you don't get it. You know, because I was a victim, and that's why I'm able to speak on that. You know, 5 years ago, I had that similar experience, and I don't want anybody to go through it. But like, you know, people say you know better, you do better. So that's why I want to go and start creating that awareness for people, and also give them things that I can give to them to maybe test their blood pressure, you know, test their cholesterol.
That's what I was thinking, that maybe
things.
if we, you know, I mean, when you were doing that for people back home, to supply testing equipment to the physicians so that the doctors can do the annual examinations that we all have every year. People go through a barrage of tests to make sure that nothing is going, but that's not done at home.
No, it's not done at home because I happened to talk to a couple of women. Number one, they're scared. There's a fear factor because, you know, the awareness is not there. So a lot of them are so scared to, like, if I go and they tell me something is wrong, they're going to die first, even before. So I reassure them that, no, when they tell you, you now know that you have it, then you begin to treat, because some of them are treatable. So I think number one is fear, and number two is the money. So like you said, we're going to get supplies, you know, and maybe eventually on your show, if you help us to talk about it, you know, when we're getting ready for it, if people want to help us with different things, because we need to give them supplies, you know, of doing some of the basic testing and all that. So I think that will help a lot of people, you know. And
no, that's a great idea. You know, I always, just like the people are fearful, I'm always fearful of starting something, testing them, coming up with the results, and then there's no treatment for it. And it's like, well, why did we get to know it?
Yeah, we'll work with some of the doctors and see, you know, if anyone has a high blood pressure. Sometimes you don't have to go on the medication just straight away. They can change their diet, and also go into some exercises, and we're going to make sure that we guide them on those processes. And the ones that need to go on medication, the doctors will do that. They'll do the prescription for them. You know.
You just got recently remarried, and recently is within the last 5 years, am I right?
Yes.
Okay. What tips do you have for the single ladies out there? Because then this was a little later.
You know, okay, remarried, yes, because I was married before in my early 20s, and by the time I got to this country, I don't want to go into that because I don't want to give the person a cheap publicity. So, I just remarried. It took me a little long while, and if you're single, what I always tell people is, make yourself happy. Everybody don't really have to marry. You know, I know when I say that, some people are like, why is she saying that? Sometimes you really don't need to marry, but if you believe you want to marry, just work towards it. Do some of the basic things, you know, get to meet people who are in there, let them give you some tips or read about them, you know. But most importantly, make yourself happy. As a single woman, as a single man, make yourself happy, love yourself. Because if you love yourself, then you can be loved by somebody. And don't just settle for anything. You want to, you know, I'm sure that you have a little bucket list that, okay, this is the basic things that I want. And also, don't raise the bar too high. Yeah, because sometimes we ladies, because you are a career lady, you are into business, you have some money, you kind of raise the bar too high and intimidates the guys. So when you look at a guy, you see the prospect in them. Once they are educated and you see the prospect in them, that doesn't mean that if they don't have a college degree that they don't have it up there too, you know, but you want to see that they have the prospect and some little things that you're looking for. I think that will work. But most importantly, just be happy. Enjoy it.
All right. You see, I told you. We touched on every little thing today. You know, being single, as a single mother, just remember, the children are watching. So if you're one of those women that is constantly dating a guy every 2-3 months, the children are watching. And that's what, you know, one important thing that I have to point out to you. But it's been great having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
And we hope to have you soon because we have so many projects that we have to discuss. Once they start, you know, happening, then you can come back and let the people know.
Thank you so much. I'll be so excited to be back.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for watching the Dr. STEM Show.
Thank you for listening to the Dr. STEM Show. Have a terrific week.